Hi, my name is Ana Ortega. I'm a naturopath, and today I want to talk to you about something I wish I had found years ago. Something that would have saved me a lot of time, pain, money, confusion, and health issues, and that's mineral balancing. Mineral balancing still isn't very well known, especially outside of English-speaking countries. I'm from Spain, but I'm based in London. For many people, it's simply not something they will ever consider because they never heard of it, and that's a huge part of the problem. If this approach was more widely known, something I truly hope will start to happen as a result of this HTMA online collective event, I believe many more people will choose it. The problem is that there is very little accessible information online, and what does exist can often feel too technical, confusing, or hard to trust. That's one of the reasons I speak about it so openly now, because people deserve to know that this option exists. When I signed up to speak at this event, I spent some time thinking about what topic I should focus on. At first, I thought I would talk about copper toxicity and endometriosis, or maybe the calcium shell, because I have a personal experience with all of these things and I know them in depth. But then I thought, there's probably already a video or more out there about these topics. And more importantly, even though they've been a big part of my journey, there are issues that are completely preventable in many cases, in my opinion. That's what sparked the idea for this video, because the real conversation we need to have is about why we should start mineral balancing early, before these deeper patterns ever take hold. I want to share with you why early intervention is crucial, why I wish I had done this work way before I hit rock bottom with my health. This is why now I recommend it, not just for people with chronic symptoms, but also for women who are preparing for pregnancy and for kids who are already showing signs that something is off. Because the truth is, the earlier you start balancing your minerals, the easier it is to reverse dysfunction and prevent chronic disease. The longer you wait, the more compensations the body builds, the deeper the pattern gets, and the more layers you have to peel back on your recovery journey. Let me tell you how I learned this the hard way. For most of my life, I had no idea how important minerals are. I never heard of HTMA testing. No one had ever told me that mineral levels could explain things I was experiencing, like fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, inflammation, digestive issues, poor immune response, or hormonal imbalances. And when I started having health problems as a teenager, my extremely lazy doctors blamed everything on genes and on hormones, very typical. They made me think there was something wrong with me and that something was unfixable. And then when I found HTMA many years later, the doctor that I was working with had no clue how to interpret this test correctly. There are many practitioners that they use hair tests with their patients, but they don't know about mineral balancing the way we do it. This doctor did what we call substitution therapy and told me I didn't have a heavy metal toxicity problem. And I was like, so happy to hear that. But in fact, I had several or eliminator patterns in my tests. And if you don't know, this means that there's a lot of hidden toxicity and the person cannot detox this easily. Now I'm going to tell you a bit more about my healing journey. I have been handed many medical labels through my life: anxiety disorder, depression, dysmenorrhea, endometriosis, celiac disease, Hashimoto's, and even MCAS. The truth is, the medical system really failed me. They missed the root causes early on: celiac disease and a dysregulated nervous system, which for me presented as eczema, constipation, chronic stress, and mood swings in childhood. And by the time I found out I had celiac disease when I was almost 30, I had already developed copper toxicity from the birth control pills I was prescribed to manage my period pain. I was on birth control for less than a year, but that led to years of anxiety and depression, which led to a benzodiazepine prescription that I took for 13 years. I was also on opioid painkillers for most of the time, so quite the cocktail I was on. You can probably imagine how awful I felt when I finally started to piece together my health puzzle and decided to come off all of those medication and heal for good. My nervous system was in shambles, and I don't even want to get too deep on all the other problems that I developed as a result of benzodiazepine-induced iatrogenic harm. Once I took my health into my own hands and began to heal, I tried everything: diets, detoxes, supplements, functional medicine, hormone panels, gut protocols. I was determined to get to the root cause. And I have to say, I did manage to heal many things through those approaches, especially with an elimination diet like carnivore. I had to do it for a couple of years because I didn't tolerate any other foods. And I also heal a lot with mycotherapy. And I was able to get rid of chronic pain, NCAS, and food intolerances this way. But no matter how much progress I made with my health, no matter how much I tried to detox, I could never fully feel like my nervous system was fully regulated. I was doing all the right things: somatic exercises, meditation, sun exposure, grounding, but deep down, I was still stuck. I had developed medical PTSD, and my body didn't feel safe, no matter how hard I worked on myself. It wasn't until I discovered mineral balancing that things finally started to make sense. And when I look at my first HTMA test results with the help of Clark Engelberg from Nutritional Analytics, it was like someone just handed me the map of my entire health journey. There it was, laid out in numbers: a metabolism that was too burnt out, a nervous system stuck in fight or flight, hidden copper toxicity, a borderline calcium shell, adrenal exhaustion. These were things that I have felt deeply for years, but I have never been able to see this in a test. All my blood work looked fine. Why didn't I do this sooner? The truth is, I didn't know about it. Mineral balancing simply wasn't on my radar. And by the time I had finally discovered it around 2018 or 2019, I had already developed so many food and supplement intolerances that it felt impossible to even try it. My system was too reactive. I was too depleted. And that made the healing process so much harder than it needed to be. Because here's the thing: the longer your body is out of balance, the more layers it creates to try to protect itself. First, it adapts, then it compensates, then it breaks. And when I finally started correcting the mineral patterns in 2023, I felt real healing of my nervous system almost immediately. That's why I'm sharing this, because I don't want you or your kids or future children to have to go through years of trial and error like I did. Mineral balancing is not just for people who are already very sick. In fact, it works best when you start early. So let's talk about why early intervention matters so much. Minerals are the foundation. They are involved in every single biochemical process in the body: energy production, hormone regulation, detoxification, neurotransmitter balance, immune function, tissue repair. All of it relies on minerals being in the right ratios and having a low toxic metal burden in the body. When mineral ratios are off and you have metal toxicity, nothing else works properly. You can eat the best diet, take the best supplements, meditate every day, go to therapy, live a low stress lifestyle, but if your minerals are out of balance, your cells won't respond the way they should. And what throws minerals out of balance, you might be wondering? Stress, infections, toxins, blood sugar issues, trauma, medication, poor digestion and absorption, oversupplementation. Even in utero, before we are born, our mineral status is already being shaped by our mother's health. So when we wait until we're symptomatic or until we've been diagnosed with something, it often means that there's already a long history of dysfunction underneath. Here is what I see now with my patients. When someone starts mineral balancing in the early stages, when they're just tired or a bit anxious or not sleeping great, we can correct things fast. we often see big shifts in a few months. But when people come to me after 10, 15, 20 years of chronic health issues, the process takes longer. There's more buildup, more retracing, more eliminations, more time needed to restore the body's ability to regulate itself. And that's okay. We can still do it. But I always say, what if we had started earlier? Now let's talk about pregnancy. I can't emphasize this enough. If you're thinking about having children or even just planning ahead, get your minerals tested and work with someone that can interpret your test results correctly. Pregnancy demands a huge amount of resources from the body, especially minerals. And if you start pregnancy already depleted or toxic or dysregulated, that gets passed on to the baby. I don't say this to scare you, it's to empower you and inform you. Because the good news is mineral balancing before pregnancy can improve fertility, lower the risk of complications, and support the health of both the mother and the baby. You can literally change your child's future by restoring balance beforehand. And for those who are already pregnant or postpartum, it's still worth doing. We can support recovery, milk supply, mental health, energy, thyroid function, all through targeted mineral work. Now, let's talk about children. This is something I feel very strongly about because I work with so many adults now whose childhood symptoms were dismissed, and I was a child too. The eczema that they'll grow out of, the tantrums or hyperactivity that were just their personality, the digestive issues, the frequent infections, the emotional dysregulation. What we see over and over is that those kids grow into adults with autoimmune issues, hormone problems, anxiety, chronic fatigue, and burnout. But it doesn't have to be that way. Kids respond incredibly well to mineral balancing. Their bodies are more adaptable. They haven't had time to build as many layers of dysfunction. And even in cases where there is more dysfunction, like what we see in children with vaccine injuries, there are still many things that can be improved. We can provide them a better health and quality of life. When we work with children, we can often prevent the development of chronic conditions altogether. We can give them a better baseline, a more resilient nervous system, a stronger detox capacity for life. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I don't feel that bad yet, maybe I'll wait. Please don't, please don't. Early signs like fatigue, insomnia, PMS, PNGD, mood swings, bloating, skin issues, or even just feeling off and tired and with brain fog all the time. These are messages from the body. They're warning signs. And if you ignore them, the body will keep compensating until it can't anymore. Mineral balancing allows us to intervene early, to restore the foundation before things spiral, to address the root causes instead of just managing symptoms. I will end up with this. I wish I had tried mineral balancing sooner. I wish someone had told me that symptoms are not random. They just don't happen because of bad luck or genetics. That fatigue is not normal, stress is not harmless, that the body has patterns and those patterns can be corrected. I wish I had known that there was a map, that I didn't have to guess and try many supplements and diet, always going 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That with the right supplementation and diet approach for your case, healing is not just possible, it's predictable. So whether you are starting to notice issues or you have been on this healing path for a long time, whether you're planning a family or you're already a parent, mineral balancing is a tool I believe everyone should know about, and we need to get it to the mainstream. It's never too late to start, but it's always better to start sooner. Thank you so much for listening and for being here. If you have made it to the end of this video, it means you care deeply about your health or the health of someone you love, and that alone is very powerful. I truly hope that sharing my story helps you take action earlier than I did, with more clarity and with more confidence. Mineral balancing changed the course of my life and improved both my personal and my professional life immensely. And if this message reaches even just one person that is struggling with their health and needed to hear this, it was worth telling.